Hope that works.
Seems like it is.
Um, yeah, yeah. Okay. I just have like five questions and some like follow-ups. I wrote
Okay.
it down. The first one is, can you walk me through your career path and how you got to your current position?
Uh, yeah, so I graduated from college and originally thought I wanted to be a professional pilot. Had gone to school for that and but didn't have the time or the money really to be direct to go get all my flight licenses. So anyway, so I added answered a job wanted, job posting for American Express Financial Advisors to be a financial advisor. And it was a time and day and age as a financial advisor, really just taking young people straight out of college and teaching them how to be financial advisors. It was a fun time to come into the business, specifically in our area. Detroit Metro was actually the number one market group out of the whole country. So beat out Chicago, New York, Philly, all major markets. We always felt a lot of pride with that the lowly Detroit market was the top group of advisors in the whole country. So that was cool. So I stayed at American Express, succeeded there. You may already know this, but the industry, even to this day, has about a 73% fail rate of advisors
Mm.
who come in to be advisors. I think I get that directly from Michael Kitces. They track a lot of this data. So anyway, so
Mhm.
long story short, I had a great bullpen, a great group of young advisors that I came into the business with. So that helped. Great training managers. We had, I think, inarguably probably the best training program back then. And as I develop young advisors today, it's really along those lines of what made us successful. We had a much higher success rate than the industry would have. So anyway, so flash forward. I apologize for how long this answer is probably going to be, but
No, it's okay.
um, so left American Express right before they became Ameriprise, decided to go independent in going to an independent broker dealer as opposed to more of a captive uh, company. So I, at that point, decided I didn't want my clients. So we were losing the American Express brand, and I was technically a franchise owner. So really, the only year I've ever been an employee was the first 12 months of my career. And not a lot of people knew that. So, but you had this opportunity of American Express, one of the most well-recognized brands in the world. And at some point, American Express wanted to divest themselves of the advisors again. So at that point,
Mm.
I realized, well, I didn't really need the blue box. I also didn't want my clients to confuse who I worked for. I wanted them to understand that I worked for them and not for a large company that was going to tell me what I had to offer or sell, as an example. So 2003, leave American Express, go independent, and really chose to specialize with a narrower group of clients, decided to go into more of a niche. And I did. And so slowly growing the company. And here I am as CEO, managing partner of a company of 20 people, eight advisors. And so here we are.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
almost, yeah. So April 26th of next year will be 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Doesn't feel like it, but I guess I don't necessarily feel like I'm 30 years older or look 30 years older, but I've been in it for 30 years.
That's a really cool story. Thank you. I just have a follow-up question. I know you kind
Mhm.
of answered it a little bit, but what are some of the pivotal moments or decisions that influenced your career trajectory?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think that the choice to make that decision of identifying clients with you, they saw you. So
Mhm.
so I started with that idea that it wasn't unique to me by any means of if a client of mine was going to be at a like a Christmas party, we're about to go into holiday parties, and somebody said, "Oh, hey, I need an advisor. Who are you working with?" I never wanted them to say, "Insert big box company," right? I wanted them to say, "John Evangelista." So that was a pivotal moment. I would say another pivotal moment, which Colin, this is appreciated because it's all in the, it's everybody is doing this now. Very early on, so American Express had proprietary product, and they had a mutual fund company that,
Mhm.
and I would say they didn't have a lot of great mutual funds within their lineup. So in 1998, so be very quite specific to your answer, a pivotal moment for me was I was an early adopter to the fiduciary model, even though I wasn't technically needing to be a fiduciary. What does that mean? American Express opened up what now most people want, which was in a open architecture platform, no proprietary product. You could choose from any mutual fund. You could, from any mutual fund company within. And so our scope of offerings from an investment standpoint, from a mutual fund standpoint, and I don't remember exactly, but let's say it went from 30 funds to now 3,000 and most of the recognizable mutual fund companies. So I chose in 1998, and I wasn't popular in the corporate culture, right? Because they still wanted us selling the proprietary stuff. But I made that choice early on, and it was never the wrong decision. And we've continued to carry that. So that was a pivotal moment. And I would say the only other, again, so I'm not on here with you for an hour. The other pivotal moment was I was exposed to an author of a book called The Brand Called You, Peter Montoya. I actually go in, mention this when I've gone into Central Michigan's program and Western Michigan's program to talk to young and soon to be advisors. And so this idea of specialization, this idea of niche, right?
Mhm.
So not trying to be everything to everyone, but trying to be everything to a smaller group of people. So I adopted, and I was not. I was told by people who were $1 million producers, this would never work. That's such a silly idea, right? So the concept was quite simple. What do you do and who do you do it for? So John Evangelista. So back then I was just John. He said, put your name on your door, right? And anybody tells you that you can't put your name on a door, Schwab is somebody's name. Merrill Lynch is somebody's name. Payne Weber is somebody's name. So, dispel this notion that you needed a big box name, right? Just put your name on it. And then say what you do and who you do it for. So that became the branch. That was the opening of John L. Evangelista, Wealth Management for University Faculty and Staff. And the premise is simple. So if you read the book, and if anybody's going to watch this video, it's going to attract the people you're looking for. It's going to deflect the people that you don't. It's not that we don't work with non-University of Michigan people. You know that to be a fact, right? So, however, our marketing message was these are the people you should go to if you're in that community. And now more people are wanting to, my space is getting a little bit more crowded. Um, so I was able
Mhm.
to keep it secret for about 20 years, but it's the space is getting a little bit more crowded. People are kind of catching on to that a little bit. So those were, I would, as you asked me to reflect, and I would say those were probably two of the most pivotal times in my career.
Yeah, thank you. That's actually really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I have one more question.
Mhm.
Could you describe your current roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, that's evolving.
Mhm.
So I would say to you that I didn't necessarily think I would go into business to be a manager. I didn't go to be an advisor, right? To be a manager of people. Um, so my role has changed from being somebody who just dealt with clients, right?
Mhm.
And was out there on the front lines, if I can use that term, right? And my only concern was finding prospects and working with clients, right? I mean, that's probably shouldn't be surprising to you. So now, as we've continued to grow, and we are by referral only practice, so how do I can't take care of 1,000 people. I don't want to take care of 1,000 people. I don't think any advisor can take care of 1,000 people. So as we've continued to grow, my role has changed. It's now finding top quality candidates. The benefit today is there are specialized degree programs that you can go to school to be, to get your CFP designation shortly, at least sit for the exam after you graduate. That didn't exist, 30 years ago. So now it's me being on the recruiting trail. It's going out to Central and Western and Missouri and um, Alabama. My son's at Alabama in one of these personal financial planning degree programs, right?
Mm.
And so then it's also something that has been lost, Colin, and I'll relate it back to maybe an earlier part of an answer earlier. Most firms aren't growing, and we are. And that is both a blessing and a curse or challenge, right? So to find good quality people coming out of college, and that's generally how we like to develop people, and then giving them the training that they need. And that's what I hear from so many people because we've brought people over, advisors from other companies, and there really aren't the great. I know people say, "Oh, they have a great training program." Okay, tell me more about that. What was involved with training? So we believe in the CFP designation, the Certified Financial Planner designation. We live and eat and breathe it. I'm proud to say to anybody at any of these degrees, because I go on recruiting, when we all get to talk in front of all of the students, and I say, if you want to use the greatest percentage of the CFP designation and skill set and knowledge, there's no better firm than ours. And I say that
Mm.
proudly. But that's a big ask. So then it's like, okay, so I'm one of the primary trainers for our advisors. So, but that's all keeps me happy. That's my happy place. So my role has changed in more in management, more in recruiting. Um,
Mhm.
Also thinking strategically. My role may not surprise you. In a lot of organizations, usually the founder is probably more of a visionary, a little bit, so we're looking to expand into other university communities. So that's part of my role. So okay, so if we're going to grow, where are we going to grow? How are we going to grow? How are we going to manage growth? And that's, but I am still client facing, so I haven't stepped out of kind of that role either. But
Yeah.
it's more challenging to manage my time now.
Mm. Yeah, and I can understand that. So on the topic of like hiring people out of college, a question I have is, do you offer any internships or any other opportunities for students to gain experience in your organization?
Yes, and we believe in that. And I would say to all of you, and you specifically, right? It's kind of crazy to me when I meet with applicants who are graduating and I ask where they've interned and they haven't. Where did they
Hmm.
do an internship? So yes, we have a dedicated, well-defined summer internship program, and you know, really, it's been a great incubator, if I can use that term. It's been a great screening mechanism. The challenge for someone like anybody that's hiring people, Colin, is you interview somebody and everybody puts their best foot forward. So the
Hmm.
internships are a great opportunity for people to truly determine if this is the type of place they would want to be. It's not just the industry, but the place, right? The
Yeah.
culture, the team, their process, and also lets us to get to know somebody 40 hours a week over a 12-week dedicated summer internship program and say, is this somebody that we would want to offer a job as soon as they graduate? So that's why we don't typically take most of the time, most of our summer internships are between sophomore and junior and senior year.
Mm. Okay.
Yep.
Uh, Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Um, I guess kind of building on to that, what are the typical responsibilities and learning outcomes for interns in your organization?
Well, we give them a broad exposure to all aspects of the
Mhm.
company. So when I say it's well defined, they have a period of time of learning everything from an operational, like the back office component. And then because we normally develop people as advisors, rarely, if ever, does anybody, like when I came into the business, like I didn't know what I didn't know, right? The idea of me being an advisor that's going to help real people with real money, knowing next to nothing is not, you know, I survived. I succeeded, but it doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. So then
Mhm.
we have paraplanners and analysts. So then the next 30 days, they're being quite time intensive. They're sitting in classes with paraplanners. They're learning what paraplanners do from an analytic data input. Our paraplanners are somewhat distinctly different than most other firms. I'm in a group of 15 partner firms, so I get exposure to how a group of firms work and operate. Um, so really, the paraplanners are helping develop the advice. They just aren't having to deliver it. And then the last 30 days of that summer internship, I like to say, then they're mine. So they're sending an advisor training program. They're actually, we try to give them, and almost every summer it's actually worked out. They are get to be client facing. They get to sit in client meetings. They are in an ideal circumstance, which has worked out. They're there at an initial consultation when a referral comes in. And if we're lucky enough and successful to move that person through our financial planning process, they're going to sit in our next meeting. They're going to sit in there when the advice is delivered. They're going to help put the plan together and see how we do that. And then they're there at the end when we're actually presenting our recommendations and you know converting really at that point what is a prospect up until that point until they sign advisor agreements and they're now technically a client. So it's quite well thought out and giving them broad exposure to all aspects of the financial industry, at least the way our firm manages things. Um, so yeah, they get a pretty good look, and also the aspect of being client facing for a portion of that usually is pretty attractive, especially for people that want to come into being an advisor. They actually want to see that. A couple of our summer interns next summer, one of them specifically is just like, I just want to see how you just answer questions and handle objections and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
I don't know
interesting.
if
I
that
feel like
answers your question.
wait, sorry, would you?
I said I don't know if that answers your question, but
Oh, well, I don't know. I feel like I learned a lot from that. I feel like it's a lot more complicated than I initially thought. Um, I guess one of the things is what are like the essential skills or qualities like that people should have to be successful in your field?
wow, this is how to encapsulate that in an answer. It's a number of things. It's
Okay.
almost a given that you just have to have the technical. You really, especially working for me, we want to be able to advise clients on every aspect, every type of financial decision they would need to make, and investments is a part of that, right?
Mhm.
So there are a lot of firms that are more what I think the industry would say is investment centric, right? We want to be that, what I used to always say to advisors, and I will say this to you, kind of that family doctor, but the family financial doctor. Like we want to be here to help them. They should buy or lease a car, right? Should they refinance their mortgage? Um, we've given roof contractor recommendations. So we want I want that relationship, right? So the importance is the baseline is, which is why it's great that they have these degree programs now that you can come out with at least the foundation of financial planning, retirement planning, estate planning, tax planning, like the core curriculum of a CFP designation, right?
Mhm.
So the technical knowledge, do you know what you need to know? And that's the benefit of the CFP designation as opposed to some of these others. You can't just learn it, test on it, and purge it, right? So, I mean, I used to be a college student just like you. I'm sure
Yeah.
this isn't new, but you learn subject matter, you take your semester, you take your final exam, and I know I'm never going to use that ever again. And somebody might purge, right? And then it's like, I don't have to think about that ever again, right?
Yeah.
Well, in our industry, you can't do that, or at least the CFP designation. So
Hmm.
technical skills, that was a very long-winded part to that. So technical skills is important. To go through a career progression with us is mandatory. So you can come in as an associate, you can come in as a paraplanner without a CFP designation. However, you
Hmm.
can't move up and be promoted through our advisor tiers to become a partner of our firm without it. So it is a core philosophical foundational item for us in our firm that we've chosen to say that, nope, you got to know this stuff. So technical, okay? And then to be successful, um, I'm going to say this, it's not trying to brush it off. Success can be defined in a lot of different ways. Yeah, are you only looking for monetary success? Are you looking to have good relationships with people that you want to know and help the kids go to college, and you want to be there during the best of times and worst of times, because we have to be there as advisors. Um, so the people skills is really important, right? Communication is important.
Hmm.
I would say the challenge, and I won't be the only one that will say this to you, the challenge today for me hiring is, I'm going to generalize, so I'll apologize in advance. What modes of communication are you comfortable? Okay. So that's kind of somewhat, I'm not really asking you the question, but think about, I didn't grow up in the world of Instagram. I didn't grow up in the world of Snap. I didn't grow up in the world of texting, right?
Hmm.
So for my generation, we picked up the phone or we saw people, right? We talked face to face. So you have to be willing to communicate. And if you want to be successful and have a career, I believe you have to understand it's not about you. It's not about how you like to communicate. Are you effective at communicating with others in the means and mode that they are comfortable communicating? Um, and that's where I think there's a difference. Maybe a little different answer than you were thinking that I would give you, but the people skills side of it is
Yeah.
important. And
No, that's what I
communication's
was,
key. And communication's key.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because I don't know, at least personally for me, like I've sort of been more introverted and I've been trying to work on like my people skills. Obviously this is a little bit of practice, but I'm trying to get better. Are there any like other, so, like, can you explain to me what a paraplanner is and
Yeah.
some of the ones you said? I'm not really sure what like the difference is between them.
Yep. Well, as I'm going to answer that question here really quickly, but just because something that you said a moment ago, Emily, who is a shareholder in my company, she
Hmm.
came in as a paraplanner, which I'll explain to you what that means here in a moment. And she's an amazing advisor. And she was in my head before, better and earlier than anybody else, right? We were
Hmm.
of the same mind as it came to be financial advisors and financial advice. And I say that for a reason. She is an introvert, and she was told her whole life that you can't succeed in this business because she had a lot of family members that were in the industry
Hmm.
and they didn't think that she would make it. Um, so if I may make one quick recommendation, have you read the book Quiet?
No, I have not.
Have you heard of it?
I haven't.
Uh, if you are self-assessing yourself and say, I'm somewhat of an introvert, but this holds interest to me, Emily found she recommends that book as a diehard introvert who is succeeding at a very high level in an industry that would tell you that an introvert should not succeed. She attributes part of that to the book Quiet.
Really?
So
Okay.
just a quick
I'll have to
digression.
take a look.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
should. And she's not the only person I've heard that from. I'm not an introverted person.
Yeah.
So, right. So I'm much more of an expressive extrovert. So let me answer your question that you originally asked or asked a moment ago. So paraplanners in our eyes is really so. in the development of advice, right? So they are going to be the ones that are for all of our new clients, our existing clients, if we need to analyze something. So we do a full financial plan for every single new client, right? So what are
Hmm.
their goals and objectives, helping us clearly define all of those goals and objectives, and then looking at the resources that a family has, and then determining where gaps. So if you're in business school, so a SWOT analysis, where you're strong, where you're weak, where are your opportunities, where are your threats, right?
Hmm.
So the paraplanners really are working with the advisors on inputting the information, getting all of the data, making sure that we have all the details that we need, performing the analysis, and then helping formulate the advice.
Hmm.
Um, Now, at the beginning, they don't know how to formulate the advice. However, most of my paraplanners, and the reason we'll use the analyst name and not paraplanner, Colin, is in our world, kids, young individuals, young people coming out of college, there's a certain amount of ego. If you want to be a financial advisor, a lot of people believe, oh, you're going to be out there, you got to be extroverted, have to have you have to have a little bit of confidence, right?
Hmm.
So when you tell somebody and they're choosing between Vanguard or some other big box firms, it's going to immediately put the title advisor on them, right?
Hmm.
Some don't want to take the title paraplanner. So I have to tell you, that's a little bit of marketing. All right. So
Yeah.
paraplanner is really, in essence, most associate advisors, most new advisors going to work for all of these firms are doing exactly what our paraplanners doing. They just aren't called paraplanners. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'm going to say that smilingly for this video. If you show this to anybody, they'll probably understand what I'm talking about. So paraplanners, at least the way we utilize them is they're going to know exactly what I do. They're going to do exactly what I do in developing advice, doing financial plans. Um, the only difference is they don't have to deliver it. They don't have to be the one explaining it, but they know they all want to go into my advisor training program. So they know, and part of the opportunity of our development track is without the pressure of learning how to quote unquote sell or present, they are
Hmm.
getting such a depth of knowledge about how the advice actually is generated. Now I just have to teach them how to tell that story, how to present it, and how to communicate that, right? They're
Yeah.
not trying to do both at the same time, which is what
Hmm.
I had. I mean, I was learning what a
Yeah.
mutual fund was. I was learning what life insurance was at the same time. I was trying to recommend it to clients, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, um, and people do that. I mean, if you look at some of these internships that your peers might go find, are
Hmm.
you calling your friends and family? Are you calling 200 people that you know and telling them they all need life insurance? I mean, somebody that just reached out to me for our summer internship. He's like, yeah, I was at this company last summer. He's actually going to intern with us next summer. And we said to him, oh, did you do your project 200? And he's like, yes, I did. And I'm like, how'd that feel? How did it feel to be an intern where you were really just going out and selling? So we don't do
Hmm.
that. But so paraplanners, the second more, just as important part is we meet our clients generally every 6 months.
Hmm.
We provide a current assessment in where they stand in relation to their goals and objectives. So the paraplanners, the analysts, are reevaluating where a client stands in relation to all of the 6 key areas of financial planning that we track, right? So they're going to help reassess, you know, is this family still on track to send their 3 kids to college? Is this client still on track to be able to retire when they said they wanted, given the market conditions, right? So,
Hmm.
and we do that every time the client comes in, and generally that's either annually or semi-annually. So the paraplanners are the ones doing that reassessment or helping with that.
Yeah. So like behind the
That makes
scenes kind
sense?
of,
Yeah.
yeah, and then the whatever, the advisors like actually go get the information and talk to them about it and set up a plan.
Well, the paraplanners actually are we don't hide them in a dark room in the back. So our
Well,
paraplanners talk to clients. They are client facing, which is I wouldn't say it's unique, but not a lot of firms let them out. And part of that is it's been a while since I've had paraplanner slash analysts that haven't wanted to go eventually into the advisor training program. So it's a little
Hmm.
different. So we want them to feel empowered to come into the meetings, to be part of when a client has a question about maybe an output, like, well, have you thought about this? I try not to answer that question when I'm sitting there with my pair planner. I want them to answer the question if they're comfortable, right? If they're not comfortable, if they're a little more introverted to begin, but this is an opportunity for them. We give them a voice. If they want to use it, they can use it. Um, Now, if they say
Yeah.
something wrong, clearly I'm ready to step in and correct
Mhm.
it. But yeah, so really they are a very important integral role and part of our team. Um, Sometimes I always tell them I'm really just kind of your talking monkey, right? So the quality of your work is important. I want to be able to trust your work product. And that's why I said the technical skills. You'll notice this is all kind of layering on each other.
Yeah.
The technical has to be there, right? You
Hmm.
have to, you know, the
Have to
old
have the
man who's sitting,
skills.
yeah, you have to have the
Yeah.
knowledge. Yeah, you don't want a doctor who just knew it when he went through med school and then completely purged it all and then is
Yeah,
practicing,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So I view that. I come from a medical family, as I shared with you, I think probably when you and I met a while ago.
Mm.
So I believe in the importance prescription is, before diagnosis is malpractice, right? So you wouldn't want your doctor giving you, best guess. If they know, they should tell you. And if they don't know, they should run the tests necessary in order to give you a definitive answer and what needs to happen after. So we
Hmm.
follow that similar protocol, at least at my firm.
Cool. Thank you. If
Yeah.
you don't mind, I just have one last question and then we can wrap it up. But
Okay.
uh, are there any other professionals in your network whom you would recommend that I connect with for further insights or opportunities?
Oh, well, that's a pretty broad statement. Business related or
Yeah.
financial related or
Like financially, like related, like maybe, I don't know, someone else you know that does a similar job to you or someone in your own company or um
um yeah, I'm trying to think of who else that you might talk to Emily to be direct. I mean, you might get some
yeah.
insight as a person who's like you, right? From an introvert standpoint.
Hmm.
Um, again, I think the world of finance is so broad. Um,
Hmm.
State attorneys that we know. I don't know if that holds any interest to you. Obviously, we know a lot about estate planning, but we're not attorneys. We're not drafting documents, as an example. We lean on, mortgage people, bankers, because again, we don't deal in those products. So we will advise a client to refinance or how much home to buy and all that kind of stuff, but we're not out there, originating a mortgage for them, as an example. So if you narrow that field for me of what you would hope to get or what you're really hoping to get out of that, I probably could narrow the field for you a little
Uh,
bit.
yeah, I don't know. Like I know it is broad, but I was supposed to ask it, but
Yeah, I mean, because we there are investment companies.
yeah, like how about like investment companies? That's
Yeah, you know what? Why don't I do this? We have our chief investment officer. The issue is how quickly do you need to? The only reason I say this, Oliver is a wonderful, very smart individual. He's holds his CFA and he's our chief investment officer for our group, and he's a great guy. But
Mhm.
the challenge is right now they're expecting a newborn baby here, so I don't know
Oh
when
wow.
he's gonna. I don't know if he's gonna be available anytime
Yeah.
soon. Literally, we've been all waiting for his wife to go in labor anytime. But however, depending on your timeline, if you have some time, if this is more of like you know a broader time period, I
Yeah,
think
no,
our
it's nothing urgent. Like
Okay.
nothing urgent. You know, would you be able to like provide their contact information or so I could email
Yeah, let
him
me
or
Yeah, anybody that I would recommend to you, Colin, what I would do is to reach out to them, see if they're open to
yeah.
this type of conversation. And then if they say yes, then what I would do is complete what I call electronic handshake. It's like, hey, Oliver, here's Colin. He should be reaching out to you to have a short interview with you as an example.
Mhm.
And that way the two of you can just coordinate from there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I don't think
Yeah.
I have any more questions.
All right.
So I guess that's it. I guess, actually my aunt just had a baby today, so it's kind of,
Oh,
yeah,
perfect timing.
yeah, I know. It just reminded me.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
uh, here I can stop recording. Um,